Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's sweet.
Amy,
Riley.
how are you doing today, Amy?
Pretty good. Now that I've had my Java.
Oh, coffee is helping this morning?
Yeah, I need to get a little pick-me-up.
Okay, good. I think people, some little turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, when they see the title of this, they're going to go, what the hell is happening? Because this is called The State of New Jersey. But it makes sense what we're doing, right? Why we're doing this? The State of New Jersey.
A little play on words.
Well, yeah. So they might think this is like, what are they talking about just the state of New Jersey? But in reality, you and I want to make a full episode because we gave New Jersey the cold shoulder for 6
weeks,
episodes.
yeah.
We just said, we acted as if New Jersey didn't exist because we were so inundated with the Valley, Summer House, Vanderpump Rules, and you and I are just two people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had to focus on the things that were most pressing at the time, and I think we agreed that Jersey could wait.
Yeah.
And now that we've watched them, I think we did the right thing.
Waiting on Jersey.
Yeah, there was nothing newsworthy that we needed to run around screaming about.
Yeah, the news were right. Nothing in those 6 episodes was like, oh my God, did you hear that this happened? And it changes everything. The only thing that makes this season of Jersey now much more resonant for me is knowing what is ultimately going to happen with the no reunion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The news came out, it started bubbling up like maybe 2 weeks ago. A bunch of like Jersey fan accounts, whoever is like, they know Dolores in real life or they know Jen Fessler in real life. Like they got the leaked scoop that New Jersey will not have a reunion this season. And then Andy Cohen said the cast members on New Jersey knew, like they would have been getting the invite, in the next couple of weeks that it was not happening. So they had to tell them that Andy had to tell everyone, or Bravo had to tell them, like, we're not having a reunion. Then that leaked out, and then Andy Cohen had to finally confirm it, which is that he said in this Bravo article I read that the finale is so final and so cataclysmic, in one of the best Jersey finales. I mean, he was really touting this thing, that you'll see why we will not have a reunion for this season.
Right.
It's going to be like a finale and a reunion all at once.
Do you believe him?
Well, no. I mean, I don't understand what is so powerful on Bravo that could not have a reunion unless one of them gets hurt or
I know what you want to say. Murdered.
I'm keeping it a little not going all the way, but I'm like, okay. I mean, I believe Andy that something happens that is going to make us understand the decision they made. But what has ever happened in the Bravo universe besides what happened on RHONJ when they didn't want to have a reunion with like Ramona?
Right.
But like, I just do not understand. No matter what it is,
like you're gonna want to talk about it again.
Yeah, I cannot. And then it seems like Teresa is kind of confused about what's happening.
Oh,
Seems
right.
like,
She said on Watch What Happens that she had receipts prepared for the reunion that she won't be able to share now, which I guess anyone could say that.
Oh, yeah. I've got the manila envelope now. But he said that they are going to make it like, this is what I think. My theory is that they got to a divide with Melissa and Teresa and maybe Margaret that cannot be salvaged because of something that happens at the dinner. And so instead of making it a reunion, because he doesn't think that these people will ever be in the same room again, he's going to add a tacked on like confessional at the end of the finale that's going to be like saying goodbye to this iteration of Jersey. That's what I think is going on. Does that make sense to you?
That's interesting. Yeah, it's hard to imagine. It does seem like that's obviously there's something major going down. If the reunion is always like a big indicator. Like if you don't have one, or if you have a clubhouse one, or like whatever, it's always a big barometer historically. So the fact that like one of the oldest franchises is in this place right now is very weird.
Yeah.
So obviously something has to be happening, and the rumors are that there will be like a reboot.
Yeah. And then I saw another like insider was quoted saying that Melissa and Teresa are the two people that they just cannot move on. And so it's sort of like where Potomac is at, I think, with Giselle and Candace, where it's like if you can't be even in the same room together, then this cast can't work.
Right.
And I guess it's happening on a lot of shows. But to me, this season so far, nothing has indicated to me that this cast is not salvageable so far.
Yeah.
Because even Teresa and Melissa, for the most part, they don't talk to each other, but they still go to all the same events. Like, they can even sit down at a table across from each other.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem as dire to me, but I guess we just don't know what's going to happen in the last, episodes.
Right. Yeah, there's like a lot of ever-changing loyalty dynamics that, honestly, I mean, we'll get into, but I don't know if it's because I've, in the past few years, been a little bit passive on New Jersey, but I'm like, who's mad at who? Because everyone keeps making up and then switching. And like, obviously, one of the big storylines so far is that like Jackie switched teams.
Yeah.
And it seems unjustified. So it's
Completely.
just confusing to me because I think everyone's confused.
Yeah.
But I'm like, am I missing something? Did I forget something?
Yeah. So I came into the season after watching last season and not remembering any of the loyalties, who was friends with who. It's almost like a fresh start in terms of who likes each other, who doesn't.
I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, so it's really confusing, and I think a reason why it's so inorganic is that Teresa is almost like indefensible now as a cast member in my mind in terms of how she has treated almost everybody in her life. The fact that she's only had Jen Aiden as her ride or die is just shows you who is willing to be around Teresa at this point. Jen Aiden just basically has to cater to Teresa no matter what she says.
Yeah.
Because Jen Aiden knows that is how her bread is buttered.
She's her Gabby.
She is a full Gabby on that show. And then the other cast members, Jackie and Jen Fessler, they look like total fucking hypocrites because they know Teresa. Jackie especially has hated Teresa more than anyone. They have had like an explosive, horrible relationship. So her turning to Teresa is just because she knows that it's going to be significant if you try to court Teresa because you immediately get a storyline. People immediately talk about that allyship. So everyone that turns towards Teresa at this time is suspect. Mm-hmm. They seem like a total fraud. Mm-hmm. That's why I was so mad that Jen Fessler was doing the same thing. It's like, it's so ridiculous. Yeah. You're friends with Margaret. You're friends with Rachel. You know how horrible Teresa is. Teresa, like, has no loyalty to you at all. So I think that you're just playing this game of trying to get a storyline by attaching yourself to Teresa to make your through line this season more get more screen time ultimately. So Jackie is doing like the worst version of it, and I feel like Jen Fessler is doing a sort of,
she's playing like middle of the road, like I'm just being friendly.
Yeah, but it still comes off very fake because because I know that she doesn't actually feel this way about Teresa. I think it's just that she knows that this is a compelling storyline to like vacillate between the divide.
Yeah. I felt like we talked before we started recording about how very confusing we both find it to keep Rachel and Danielle straight. Like their name, we have name blindness for them.
Yeah.
So it's Rachel Fuda.
And Danielle, what's her last name?
Cabral?
Oh, yeah, Cabral. Nate Cabral and Danielle Cabral.
Okay.
I also have the same thing. When I'm writing down Rachel's name, I write Danielle. Like, it's like I have the full flip
I basically
of
just
their
have to call her Fuda.
Yeah, good.
Because then I can remember who their husbands are.
Okay.
You know? Because I feel, this is off topic. I'm just switching around. But I feel like John Fuda is a much bigger star than Rachel Fuda to me.
Okay, I think Rachel. Good. Well, let's talk about the Fudas.
The state of New Jersey.
Yeah, the state of New Jersey. I found a lot of merit to both Rachel and John in these first 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. I felt like Rachel confronting Teresa at that bougie brunch was very, very powerful.
What have you done, you fucking bitch? Or whatever.
That was wild to me.
Yeah.
I feel like no one has talked to Teresa like that in a really long time because they're so scared of Teresa and Louis. And even Dolores, after Rachel talked like that to Teresa, she goes, I don't know when it's going to come, but the wrath of Teresa is going to come down upon you very soon. And I would keep one eye open for the rest of your life. I was like, God damn. That's how people navigate with Teresa.
Yeah.
Like, Teresa is scary to them. Teresa and Louis are both scary. They'll hire a private investigator on your ass to follow you around, to dig up fucking dirt on you, to ruin your life.
Yeah.
So Rachel and John, both of them standing up to Teresa and Louis, I was like, damn, someone is finally standing up to the most powerful cast member on the show, and I think they both got their asses handed to them each time that Rachel and John confronted them. I was proud of both of them.
I wish that Rachel's was a little more, it was a little like down and dirty for my taste. Like I wish it was a little more like, I don't know, like it was just like, it felt like they could write it off. Like Teresa was like, she's so immature, and everyone was like, oh, don't go there. Like, I don't know.
I thought that, but I thought calling out the jail shit. I thought when she was like, Teresa said, you're young and stupid. And she goes, well, you're old and stupid, you fucking bitch. I was like, damn, it had the quality of a huge fight to me. And I was surprised that Teresa gave her nothing back. Because
I did love, I feel like, I guess in comparison, I felt like John Fuda's had more like pizzazz to it. Like when he was like, you're the poster child for mortgage fraud. I was like, that's a great line.
Oh yeah, it was great. I love that. I thought that he handled himself well. We're just talking about the Fuda, so we're skipping around. But I loved the sit down with Teresa and Louis. I felt like the power balance completely shifted to where Teresa and Louis almost had to like, had to apologize to John to get his forgiveness. And Teresa, you could see she's confused in the room. She's like, who the fuck are you to be demanding an apology, even though she did say despicable shit about him.
Kicked back on her heels. And like, they're just, I guess, confident. And I feel like Louis, is there anyone in the world that doesn't think that Louis is not like terrifying and bad?
Teresa fans. Teresa stands. I know. I still love Teresa. I just think that she is bordering on becoming a morally reprehensible person because of the people that she surrounds herself with. Yeah. And if you look at Teresa's track record with relationships, there's no one that has been around Teresa for her entire life that she hasn't written off and been completely hypocritical towards. But I think she's, amazing television, and I think she still has a good spirit. Yeah. It's like, if she just like fucked up, if she would have actually married a nice guy, I feel like she could have stayed on track. Like, I feel like she was on a good track right when she got out of jail, and then she fell into the arms of yet another. Like, he makes Joe Giudice seem a great guy. Yes. So Teresa, I don't know if diehard Teresa fans, which I know you're there, if you like Louis, if you use like what Gia says about Louis, if you like secretly like him, let us know if we're alone. But to me, Louis has such a fake persona in terms of how he interacts with everyone. This holier than thou, Zen, namaste guy that doesn't let anyone ruffle his feathers. But then when you really hear him talk, he's like, I looked at John Fuda's face, and he was one of the ugliest motherfuckers I've ever seen. I was like, oh God. Calling people ugly like that. And when he goes like, when he said, I have 2 wolves upon my shoulders, and it's just a matter of which one I'm gonna fucking feed today. I was like, who is this fucking psycho that you're dating? And I think that he doesn't reveal any negative aspects of his personality because he tries to present himself as this like amazing human, that when you do see the mask slip and he says stuff like, I'm gonna feed the fucking wolves, you're like, oh God, you're possibly very psychotic. So I think that with John Fuda, I already see the rough edges or whatever. Like I see him get angry or whatever, but ultimately I'm like, I'm seeing your full personality. I'm getting to know John Fuda. I know Frank Catania. Louis, I have no fucking clue what that guy is capable of. He doesn't want to reveal this like negative, weird side that we all know is there. But when it does rear its head, it's shocking. And I feel like Gia revealed that her boyfriend works for him. And I'm like, he has them all under his thumb. Like all the kids work for him. And like... Men of Legacy. I've looked up what it is. It's called Men of Legacy. That's why they're all wearing whenever someone's wearing a shirt where you don't know what the fuck it is in the Bravo universe, just know that it's tied to some business that they're promoting. Oh my God, did you see Louis was wearing the Give Me Pizza, You Old Troll t-shirt? And I was like, that's about her ex-husband, you freak. I know. I had to look it up. I was like, what the fuck is this shirt in reference to? I didn't remember
Iconic
that.
Melania line.
Anyway, Men of Legacy. Everyone has to look it up. It's like a course in men's healing or
is
self-help.
That when the beach thing?
I think it's after. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe is that the course that he took? And now he's this spokesperson for. Anyway, I did start doing it because I want to become a man of legacy. But if you go to Men of Legacy, the Instagram, it's just Louis giving like self-help shit like Tony Robbins.
Please no.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, the teaser, the thing I'm most looking forward to is the fact that it sounds like he loses all their money.
He does. Is that what that clip is about?
She's like, he pissed away all of our money, and like there's like a fourth wall break, like there's like a producer or like a camera, like it looks like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know if Teresa, she's so in the tank for Louis that I don't know if she'll ever admit that she's possibly wrong. But another reason why I think Jersey has such longevity is because we all know that in a season or two, this Louis Teresa dynasty is going to have to fall just based off what we know about Louis. It's a house of cards.
Yeah.
All the things he's already done. So I am interested in that, but that's why I'm saying, why would Bravo leave all of this potential on the table? You have the fall of Louis and Teresa, and I still hold out hope that you have the ultimate, that Joe and Melissa and Teresa could actually find common ground at some point. I still don't think that that's like off the table. Mm-hmm. Like there are some, like what family, I mean, I know families do have this, but like in the end, you want to reconcile with your brother, right?
Yeah.
For your children, all that stuff. Like, I don't think this is sustainable anymore. So I just don't know why you would cut off Legacy or RHONJ right now when it still seems like there are very fruitful times ahead for all of the cast.
Yeah. It's a bummer, but it's hard because they've been feuding for so long that I don't like, even the times when they kind of made up, it was so fraught.
Yeah. What is what does Teresa hate about Melissa?
That's another thing that I feel like confused about forever, because I'm always like, I don't find that much to hate about Melissa.
Me neither.
Like, anytime when they're feuding, I'm like, Teresa is horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah. Teresa is treating Melissa like shit. Teresa set a standard for how family members should orient themselves around her, the rules for a family member, and she breaks every single one of those every single day. So Teresa is the biggest hypocrite in the Bravo universe.
Right. But then sometimes I'll be on TikTok and I'm big into I keep getting served like vintage New Jersey clips, which is why that Melania quote was fresh in my head. I watch like Melania compilations all the time. But there was one that it was like a happy Judice family moment, and the comments were just all like, the worst thing they ever did was bring in the like sister-in-law, like they were like Teresa forever.
Oh yeah. Jersey would have been really good without Joe and Melissa the entire time. They're responsible for 40% of the entertainment of New Jersey's run.
So I'm like, what am I missing? Like, I do think that they, poke the bear sometimes. Like Joe this week posted like happy birthday to his sister. It was Melissa's sister. And it was like hashtag sister, like hashtag family.
I think Teresa resents a little bit that Melissa's storyline, what's the better word for that? Arc on New Jersey was her reaction to what Teresa did. And I think this is the first season where Melissa is saying, which maybe this is why it's ending. Melissa's saying, I don't want my trajectory on New Jersey to be in reaction to what Teresa is doing. I have made my own legacy on this show for, 11 seasons? 10 seasons?
Yeah.
I do not need to just comment on my relationship with Teresa to justify myself on the show. So if you need me for that, maybe I should be fired. It's kind of like putting the stake in the ground of what you think your contribution to this show is. Your relationship with your husband, my relationship with my daughter. I have organic friendships with the rest of the cast. Don't ask me about Teresa anymore, because that is not what I'm here for anymore. I live outside a Teresa world. And then Teresa's grudge against Melissa is that when they got on the show, they didn't tell Teresa that they were joining. She knew that this was going to ruin their family, so she never wanted it. So she's held a grudge against Joe and Melissa for sort of ruining their family by coming on the show and capitalizing on Teresa's name to generate I guess, clout for themselves.
Yeah. She also doesn't fuck with the Wakilis anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
The Wakilis were like the soft launch for what was going to happen with the Gorgas. Like, she
Yeah.
just writes people off in her
Yeah.
life and never needs to see them again. And so she's kind of insulating herself with a bunch of yes people. I mean, her daughters, which I totally understand. They love their mom more than
Yeah.
itself. But then now Louis is like the ultimate yes person in
Yeah.
her life.
Yeah.
Just justifying all of her bad behavior.
Right. Did you also see that, what's his name? I'm going to botch this whole thing because it's so confusing, but the Manzo ex-husband got, like, indicted. Like, he's found guilty of hiring basically not a hitman, but like what do you call that? Like
Assassin?
like a rough and tumble brute to beat up Dina and her husband.
So that really did happen.
Yeah, he's like going to jail.
Okay.
And Caroline like stood by him.
Okay. So
How
Caroline...
like dark is that? I
Yeah.
feel like the world doesn't talk about it enough. I'm like, this is the most insane shit. It's like Tanya Harding shit.
Yeah, can you send me why did Manzo's ex want to do that, do a home invasion and beat up?
I don't know if it was just because she had like gotten remarried, like a jealousy thing, or if there was like money involved. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. Well, we need to look into that story. Yeah, that.
But like, what?
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
one of the main original stars got beaten to a pulp by her. What is it? Sorry, she was married to.
Yeah, I don't fully know the details of the story, so you'll have to fill me in.
Dina and Caroline are
sisters.
but they were married to brothers.
Yeah, and it was Dina's ex who did this?
Yes.
Okay, Dina's ex.
And I think that Caroline like stood by her brother-in-law.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, people say, yeah.
That's like fucked.
Yeah, Caroline Manzo, I think people really find her to be despicable. Just
That's
based
wild
off what
because she's
done.
like one of the OG spin-off. Like she was like, I just, when I was watching this season of RHONJ, it auto-played the first episode ever. And I only watched like 10 minutes of it or something. But the very first episode, do you know what it's called?
Blackwater.
Thick as Thieves.
Thick as Thieves?
Yeah.
To capitalize on her saying that?
Yeah. So I'm like, from day one, she was like the lead, you know?
Yeah. Well, oh, yeah, damn. Well, I mean, that's another huge part of, like, when you're thinking about franchises, like, sometimes I think about how, like, I mean, I'm not going to call Caroline Manzo, like, talent or whatever, but I do think about, like, all the iterations of New Jersey that could happen in the future. I don't know if Caroline Manzo would ever come on, but just the fact that there's, like, the whole Dina stuff, like, waiting in the wings there, like, if she ever did want to tell her story, like, there's a lot of fruitful territory on New Jersey,
Right.
ultimately. So
Of course, like the second that Caroline got involved again, she got like
Yeah.
assaulted by Brandy.
I know. Yeah, that's horrible. I will never see that season of Morocco.
You know. But yeah, so I feel like generally, I will say I think that thinking about watching the old clips and then rewatching or watching this new season, I feel like New Jersey, its strength is like family.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the point, obviously, like the family.
Yeah.
But like the kids are like really good throughout. Like even like Jen Aiden's daughter is like very funny.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I care. Obviously, like almost all the city's housewives, they all have kids, but there's a particular focus on home life, I feel like.
Yeah.
Historically.
And the husbands.
Totally.
I mean, a huge draw of New Jersey is that the husbands are almost main cast members as well. Frank,
Totally. Yeah.
wonderful Bill,
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah.
But so I'm curious if like if they did recast it, I'm like, are they going to be able to find
Yeah.
good new people?
But why would they recast fully? I mean, we're kind of, this is like, it might not be rebooted, but also like why, like I find merit to John Fuda and Rachel and even Danielle. I think Danielle is like kind of
I
figuring
think she's
out.
funny.
I think she's funny too. I think she's figuring out. She had one of the worst first seasons I've ever seen in my life. When she got set up, when she was just blown in the wind with whoever wanted to give her information. I thought Danielle was horrible, but like in terms of what she did on the show, but I knew that there was something in there, like personality-wise, that she was kind of fun. So I think this season she's finding her groove. Why would you do a reboot, which maybe isn't happening, when you just found two pretty compelling cast members just last season that are just starting to blossom?
Yeah.
I mean, Danielle, I have to say, this season of Jersey, I was like, have there ever been this many events? Was it just that we're binging it? But I was like, there are 3 events per episode.
Right.
Like, I was like, I've never seen so many
Bougie
events.
brunch.
Bougie brunch, dog
Fashion week, dog party.
Nate's celebration of life. Like
Right.
every episode had like 3 events
Yeah,
that the whole cast had
Joe's
to.
birthday.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is like a lot of events. But Danielle is responsible for half of them.
Yeah.
Or like, 5 of them
Yeah.
so far. So maybe we're debating something that is not going to happen. But my counter to like the reboot, if Bravo's even considering it, it's just like, just think about what you did to RHONJ, please.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. Think about how much entertainment was squandered by you doing that decision. And now we're even hearing that season 2 of the new one is just as boring as ever. Like, do not do that. Do the Atlanta hybrid model. Maybe this is the end of Teresa and Melissa. And the retrospective at the end, that's not going to be a reunion, is just showing how Teresa and Melissa's relationship has become so awful through time.
Yeah.
And then it's the end of that chapter of the Teresa and Melissa fueled
Right.
Jersey. And then maybe Dolores still gets to be on it. Margaret,
Yeah.
Margaret didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're just mad at her because they're feuding because she said that Louis called her son's school and threatened him or something. And then what happened before that?
I don't remember. I really should have looked up before what Margaret said Louis did, that the private investigator called Margaret's son at school.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that he did it because at the reunion I was like, God damn, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And Margaret is justified in saying, I never want to speak to that person again. But then I understand Bravo producers being like, well, we can't navigate this then. Like, you know what I mean? If it's kind of like, if a cast member, which this is happening on Vanderpump Rules, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but if a cast member gets to the point where they cannot interact with someone because they think that something they did is so egregious that they can never be in the same room with them, then Bravo does have a hard decision of figuring out what to do. If you're going to fire both parties, if you're going to fire one party, because it's just not sustainable to have a cast where they just cannot interact with each other at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that I feel like the second that Jackie entertained letting Teresa back in, Marge was like, I mean, she's like choosing to act like she's mad about the book or whatever, but I think she's just like thinks it's despicable.
Yeah, I think she does too. I love how Margaret is calling out the hypocrisy of Jen Fessler and Jackie for doing this. One of my favorite scenes so far was when Margaret was making fun of Jen Fessler for giggling with Teresa, and she did the impression of Jen Fessler laughing at something Teresa said, and then did her Teresa impression. It's just so.
There's a lot of good impressions.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous to Margaret that Jackie and Jen Fessler are even considering a friendship with Teresa when they know how horrible she treats everyone.
Well, yeah, it's so weird because on one hand, I'm like, I think one of the strengths of Jackie's storyline is like her honesty about her like eating disorder and like all that stuff. I think is like really amazing. So the fact that she's kind of using that growth as a way to say that now she only wants to be surrounded by positive people, and I'm like, and Teresa's your choice?
Yeah. Teresa
As like a
Jen
non-toxic group?
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I liked Jackie. I'm always like, I root for the underdogs, and I knew that like most people did not like Jackie. Most people don't like Teddy Mellencamp. Like they're like, these people are boring. Get them the hell off. I found merit to Jackie as a what's that called? Utility player, supporting cast member. I think she just destroyed her legacy in 3 episodes.
Right. She's trying to be a big dog.
Yeah. Well, and I just think she's fully faking this.
What do you think her
possible
husband
friendship
has
with-
to say?
he
Because
has
he's the
that-
one that like got insulted, right? Like, isn't that like?
Yeah, Teresa
the
spread
affair?
rumors that they were cheating, but Teresa has always treated Jackie despicably, like she treats almost everyone in her life. If you don't completely have 100% absolute loyalty to her, so I think that Jackie, this is indefensible as a move, and it's only because she is, I'll say it, desperate to remain on the show and not be a friend of, that she would even contemplate aligning herself with Teresa. And it just like what you said, it completely nullifies every strong stance she's ever made on this show, because you just faked the biggest thing in your life for screen time.
Yeah.
And then Jen Fessler is doing, I would say, a small similar strategy, but a little more nuanced because she's better at it than Jackie.
Yeah, she also doesn't have as much history.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have that much reason to be mad except for loyalty, I guess.
Yeah, but it is ridiculous, though, to just, like, for us to have to pretend that Jen Fessler doesn't know every single thing in the world that Teresa has done to her friends, Margaret and Rachel, and
Well,
there
she's
is
like, I didn't get a whole new fucking face and lose like 40 pounds for no reason. I'm going to get on this show.
yeah, and it does have the most pivotal part of this season by being the fulcrum for the divide between the two sides. So I guess I give her some credit for that, but I just wished it didn't seem so fake. And I thought I wish I thought that it was genuine, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. I feel okay commenting on her appearance because Andy literally, like, at the reunion there, he was like, damn bitch, like, what did you do? Like,
because he said Housewives usually wait till the second season to have the
like a whole new face. And I know you're not going to want to comment on this, but I have to say how jarring it is that every time they cut to any clip from the past, just everyone looks completely fucking different. Like, everyone just overnight lost like 30-40 pounds, and I'm like, ah! Like, what the hell?
It is.
I'm like, what is going on?
I won't comment too strongly, but I will say it is always slightly jarring when they do flashbacks from early seasons, and you're like, I don't.
Not even early seasons, like one season, like over
Like,
summer. Like, Dolores looks.
person.
I mean, I think Dolores looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I think the work she did, she did a good job, but she looks fucking different.
Yeah.
She's like snatched.
Well, I think good. Well, I think to orient, like, no, I fully agree. It's just as jarring for me as well. Let's maybe, get to things that we enjoyed through the, like, discussing the cast members, like, because it's just like, I don't know, everyone has, I guess, merit this season, but like, what do you think about Dolores and the Pauly arc and Frank Catania going on? How do you feel about how that's?
I mean, I love seeing the Dolores Frank dynamic forever.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never get tired of that. It's like very sitcom coded. It's just so silly and funny that they live their life that way, and I'm obsessed. Like, I think it's really like earnest and like real. Like, you know that it's real.
Yeah.
The Pauly thing, I feel like the engagement thing is giving like Paige and Craig a little bit, where it's like, who fucking cares? They're like old. Like, if they don't get married, they don't get married. Like, she's like 50.
Every single conversation, which I think is ridiculous, that Pauly has to have this season is, when are you proposing? It's like, that
It doesn't even seem like she actually cares. It's like people are putting in her head that she needs to be worried about it.
It didn't up until the final episode, I think, when they had that sit down and Pauly starts to waver on when he is going to commit, and that makes Dolores like worried or want to maybe call this off. But I just think that it's like once it's addressed once, it needs to stop bubbling up, because then they like Dolores brings up that like people keep asking about the engagement, and Margaret goes, who's asking you? And then immediately they cut to the golf course and Joe Gorga is asking about the proposal again. It's like I
mean, I did sort of forget about the fact that she was left waiting with her ex for a long time. So I would understand why she'd be like, I'm not doing this again, you know. But did you love how she revealed what Frank's engagement to her was?
I loved it, and let me see if I remember it correctly. He went to the mall, and he went to a store that had a toy pig that walked around on its legs saying oink, oink, oink. He put a blue ribbon around its neck and then tied a ring to it. And then while Dolores was cooking dinner, the pig went oink, 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 and came in and had a ring on
obsessed. I think that's so cute. Am I like so brain dead that I'm like, that's like my dream engagement?
I thought it was cool too. I didn't think Dolores says not a lot of thought in that one.
I would so prefer that over like some grand gesture. Like I'd be like, that's really funny.
You hear oink, 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 oink. Yeah, she didn't seem to love that. I think she lumps in Frank's entire marriage with her with that proposal.
I mean, he treated her like shit, unfortunately, but I'm glad that they found a dynamic that works. And we talked about how we love that whenever they refer to each other in regards to like the kids or whatever, they call each other like mommy and daddy.
Yeah, I think
like
that's really
he's
sweet.
like, I had to tell mommy that I'm getting engaged.
Yeah. I also like the scene where Frank is showing the ring to Dolores and he says, let's practice this thing at a restaurant. And then everyone at the restaurant thinks that they're witnessing Frank and Tanya maybe re-proposing to Dolores in front of everyone. That was kind of a fun
Yeah,
scene.
they're like such a, you know, fun rat pack. Like their kids live at her house since she lives with Polly. She said they have like between the group of them, they have 10 dogs.
Yeah.
Like they're just constantly rescuing dogs, which I love. She like listed out all the names. She, you know, brought a new one over to that dog party. I was like, they just seem like good people.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah, I love it. I don't know how Dolores is able to get away with being a proper, like she says, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Like to Teresa and Melissa. Like she's able to get away with that role very well, and Teresa doesn't discount her for being friends, and which, you know, is good of Teresa. But it's like, I don't know, Dolores has a very interesting position on the show where she's
Yeah.
able to maintain friendships with both sides very
Right.
easily.
I'm surprised that Teresa's allowed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jen Aiden is kind of doing a little bit of that. Like what you were saying about like where these alliances stand. Like I had no clue where the fuck Melissa and Jen Aiden were on their road to friendship. Like I don't remember.
Right.
Like if you ask me what has happened in the history of Jen and Melissa, like they show the flashbacks and I'm like, barely anything.
Yeah.
Like why does Jen Aiden hate Joe Gorga so much that she says like
Yeah.
the worst shit about him? Like it's just kind of, they've just always had this like cold war against each other, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's like because the things are hard to pin down, it makes me not care.
Yeah.
So then when they have to make up or whatever, I'm like, do or don't. I don't really give a shit. Like,
I think it's that there's so much garbage thrown at the wall in terms of how they use evidence against each other that it's so low level but so constant, the mudslinging, that you kind of forget what the hell these alliances are.
Right.
Like, I feel like on Beverly Hills, you kind of remember, like, you know what the big fractures were, how they're
Yeah.
doing. At this, like, here's an example of it. This season, Jen Aiden brings over this person named Lena, a
right.
hairdresser, to the dog party.
Yeah.
And Danielle and Jen Aiden are seemingly fine. Danielle did Jen and Teresa's dirty work last season, and she got fully caught just like holding the bag, doing dirty work for Jen and Teresa. And then Jen brings a person, a hater, a Danielle hater,
Yeah.
to a dog party to just spout shit
Yeah.
about Danielle.
Right.
I'm like, you guys are friends.
Yeah.
You brought someone specifically to just air out this stupid fucking story that we never needed to know.
Right.
About some charity event where this hairdresser who cut your hair for free once didn't get to go to the VIP section. It didn't change my impression of Danielle for 1 second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what Danielle or Jen is bringing into the universe as her contribution to the show. It's dog shit. It's
Yeah.
horrible. And that's one of those things where it's like, if you had to think about Danielle and Jen's relationship, you'd have to factor that in. Be like, why did that happen?
Right. I know, because when I was listening to it, I'm like, of course, the way that woman phrased it, it sounded like horrible, like how, like, you know, disrespectful. But I was like, I'm sure it was some like weird shit where you were just like posted up in there,
Yeah.
like drinking all the booze. Like, I don't know what the circumstances were. And also, I mean, I do leave room for Danielle being questionable. Like the shit with her family is kind of weird. Like,
I think she, some people dislike Danielle, and I understand, especially if you're judging her based off that first season. I do think she's trying to have a very similar, she's very entrenched in the tropes of Jersey and is trying to emulate past
yeah.
storylines. And she knows that like, estrangement from families is like a very
Yeah.
potent ground. I'm not saying that that's like fully fake,
Yeah.
but I do sense a little bit of phoniness in Danielle.
Yeah.
And I wish she could just drop it completely.
Yeah, I feel like the hairstylist thing was kind of giving old Jersey in the sense that there used to be all these little ancillary characters
Yeah.
like Kim G,
Yeah.
Kim D, like the posh fashion show. Like there was this sort of like
Yeah.
community outside that would always get entangled, which I kind of miss.
Yeah. I missed that a little bit. It just like, yeah. I mean, Jersey seems like everyone in their periphery is like vying to be on the show in some
Yeah.
way. So I really discounted that hairdresser story. I thought it was more, in my opinion, reflective of Jen Aiden as a horrible cast member on the show. I think Jen Aiden is just so bad on Jersey, like almost like Gina levels on OC. Like they are very similar to me, where I just think that she has no compelling merit on her own in terms of entertainment. So if she wasn't just fully aligned with Teresa, when you see the kind of garbage that she brings up on the show, it's all shit.
I feel like whenever it's like about her family more, it's more interesting. Like, again, I think her daughter is very funny. I think her family dynamic is interesting.
What is the family dynamic?
Well, just like culturally, and like sometimes when they get into like her brother and like the I don't know, there was a little bit of drama with her and her husband. There's part of me that kind of does think she's funny. Like she'll make her impressions make me laugh.
Okay.
Like I'm not like completely like a 0 for her. Like sometimes she kind of grows on me, but yeah, like strategically speaking, it's rough.
I'm a 0 on her. Okay. I think she's lasted way too long. Like Gina on OC.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is going on? But then I understand it. It's because Teresa would have no friends.
Yeah.
And they can't have Teresa not have a sounding board for her shitty, horrible theories about everyone. She has to have one completely loyal person around her. So Jen Aiden is just doing that.
Yeah.
There also, you get again to as more evidence towards like they just throw a bunch of like shit at the walls. You really see how Teresa can justify any grievance she has against anyone by the shit that she tries to stir up in her defense, like this reunion meeting sit down that she keeps bringing up, that the fact that Margaret and Jen Fessler and Melissa all wanted to have a united front at the reunion because they found out that who's the PI? Dick Wolf? No,
Bo Deedle.
Bo Deedle was on their tracks calling their children or whatever. It's like, this is so, and everyone has said, all housewives have been interviewed about this, and they say, yes, we do this. Sometimes we meet up with our friends before a reunion to discuss how we're going to handle things.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous to me that Teresa is using this as her ace in the hole of how corrupt and evil everyone is. It's like, everyone does this.
Yeah.
Teresa uses like really innocuous, stupid shit to paint people in the worst light and use it as to justify why she's able to.
Well, it's funny because the thing that's entertaining about Teresa is that she is like diabolical in ways, but she's also very dumb.
Yeah.
So like whenever you see that she thinks she's found a way in or a way out, you can see the light bulb going off in her head. Like when they start asking, everyone keeps asking, she thought she got an out about calling John Fuda a drug dealer. She's like, I didn't say now, I said then.
Which she didn't.
No, she didn't, first of all. Second of all, it's like, you know the intention of what you're saying. Like, we're not morons. Like, you were trying to, like, you know, like ruin his name.
And then she uses it against him immediately at that sit down. She
drug
immediately
dealer.
Goes, yeah.
But like you can tell that she's like, I found the perfect loophole.
No, it did. It had a full light bulb moment for Teresa. She figured out how to do that. Rachel kind of, I give her a lot of credit. She held Teresa's feet to the fire about that. She said, you know what your intent was.
Yeah.
Don't try to get out of it like this.
She said the car, what did she say? You park cars for a living or whatever. And then there was a clip from before where she, because Jen Aiden, people were talking shit that her Instagram bio says like wife of a plastic surgeon, and people were talking shit. And then Teresa defended her and said to Marge, like, you wouldn't put wife of a plumber. So like she has a history of talking shit about jobs that she finds beneath her.
Did you look it up? John Fuda owns a parking company or something?
Something like that.
What?
I mean, who gives a shit? It's like, like she's just being fucking rude. And I'm like, what is, Louis is just like a scammer. So.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. John Fuda has a lot of merit to me, so I don't think Teresa's going to win the audience over.
He seems like
him.
smart.
Yeah.
Like he seems like a like normal person who he was mad and like showed that he was angry and was willing to go toe to toe, but at no point was I like afraid of him. Like I was like, he's like justifiably angry, but like I wasn't like, whoa, like don't speak to a woman like that. I was like, yeah, like fuck her.
And I love his walkout. I mean, that sit down when he was like, you know, I want an authentic apology for you calling me a drug dealer. If you're not going to get it, we're going to walk.
Yeah.
It like,
and she's like, I want an apology.
and the apology that Teresa and Louis want is because they brought up that Louis was trying to investigate them potentially.
I guess it's like so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I you know, I like we were talking before, you know, we focused on the big shows that were winding into the finales and reunions, so we didn't watch this. And I forgot that sometimes I really, because we watch things week to week, so we have to talk about them week to week, I forgot the joy of just like binging, like letting a show lapse and then watching it all at once. It's like so chill.
Yeah, it is. It puts a lot less pressure for me on the quality of each episode when you binge, because I consider this season of Jersey good so far because I'm factoring in what happens in episode 5 and 6, the Rachel bougie brunch showdown with Teresa, and then the John Fuda and Rachel sit down with Teresa and Louis. I kind of just say, oh, those two moments were great. So these 6 episodes, it was a slow start, but we got to something here that I really enjoyed. Yeah. So I don't know, but if we were probably recapping this for 6 weeks, we'd be like, what the hell is going on in Jersey right now? Like,
like sometimes it's better as a whole than per episode.
Do you think Melissa does have a compelling storyline outside of her relationship with Teresa?
No.
Really?
Not really. What is she doing? I mean, now everyone gets to rest on the fact that the kids are going to college. Like, that's obviously like the main thing that they're doing right now, which I don't think you watched in, 2006 or whatever the fuck this show was originally on, but I feel so fucking old. It's like disgusting. Like, these little kids, it's happening across the board on all Housewives, like on Instagram, like Alexis Bellino's little kid graduated high school this week. Like, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I don't have that because everyone just sort of went through time so quickly for me as I binge these shows that I don't have that. But yeah,
like Teresa's one of the daughters was born on the show.
Which one? Adriana?
Well, the youngest, yeah. And we watched her get brought home from the hospital.
Yeah.
And she's like in like calculus class.
That's what Teresa always touts as her legacy. She always says, I gave birth on the show, I went to jail on the show, I got divorced on the show.
Yeah. I just watched the clip of her getting brought home from the hospital, and Joe wanted more kids. He wanted a son, and she was like, I'm done. And he was like, you popped that thing out like a ping pong ball.
He said that? Wow. I think that Teresa and Melissa both have a lack of an arc without
each other.
I think you could say the same thing about Teresa. If this was Teresa's world and she just got her spinoff, it would be the most boring shit you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. It'd be called Everybody Loves Louis. And it would be like Gia going, I love you, Louis. And Louis going, I love you. It's like, that shit is so boring that the friction between them is what makes Jersey good. And I still, like I said, there is something that's going to happen that could bridge that gap. When Teresa brought the housewarming gift to Joe Gorga, when she said to Rachel and John, I thought this was like pretty cool, in my opinion, of Teresa. That whole sit down had a lot of merit to me. It really felt like a movie. Like, it felt like a scene from a really shitty Godfather ripoff to me. But when she said, like, I'm not going to that housewarming party, so can you guys bring the housewarming gift for my brother? I was like, why would John and Rachel bring this gift for you? But I feel like, in a way, that's the biggest olive branch Teresa could ever give, is acknowledge that Joe's having a housewarming party, that she's not going to be there, but that she still wants to give the gift. Yeah. I was like,
she said on Watch What Happens Live that was Louis' doing.
Oh, that Louis wanted that? Oh, so I can't even give Teresa credit
Yeah.
for that. Oh, no.
Yeah, she said that's
Okay.
just the kind of guy he is.
Well, okay. Then
Did
it's
they leave it
calculated.
behind? I assume they didn't grab it on their way out.
I don't think so. Production just been like, hey, you got to give this to Joe because that's going to be a good scene, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Damn. So
Yeah.
that's just Louis' shitty fucking calculated move.
Yeah.
The way Teresa has treated Joe is absolutely despicable.
Yeah.
It's
You're breaking my heart.
It's awful. It is awful that Teresa can write off her brother for whatever the fuck people say about Joe that they think. I don't know what they say. I don't know what the absolute Joe Gorga hater, but it is like, it's awful that they cannot reconcile because of.
I know, and especially now that their parents are gone, I feel like they're really kind of doomed because the only thing that kept them trying was that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, let's I have to take a certified turtle piss break, and then could we come back and just have some final thoughts about
Sure.
the state of Jersey?
Let's do it.
Okay. We're back.
Hello.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Of course. We might get a review that was vulgar.
You saw that review?
We're disgusting.
Oh, God. Oh, I didn't even want to think about it anymore. Oh.
Sometimes I like ones. I'm like, I would rather be accused of something like that than something more sinister, you know?
Yes, but there was some stuff I read that hurt my feelings so much. People that, they said, asking for no negative reviews is one of the most despicable things I've ever heard in my life.
We're going to have to toughen up. Get over it.
Okay. Why would you have to write a bad review? I understand. Okay. We got to let them happen. But yeah, I read that one. We should caveat, we should say that this is a rated R podcast. Bordering
we're
on
sickos.
NC-17. I would say you and I fluctuate between being a PG podcast that West has to question whether we even say curse words to the most vulgar shit you've ever heard in your life that we won't bleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you say? It's not NC-17. It's rated R with
Hard
dalliances. With dalliances into, NC-17 language.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about when Jen and Teresa were talking about double-sided dildo. We'll talk about that.
Of course. I would say, really, we let Bravo be our guide in terms of what words we say. You know what I mean? And what we're willing to talk about. Like, it's kind of like whatever the Bravo rating is. What's TV ratings? Rated mature.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're rated mature with every once in a while a deviance into, or not deviance, dalliance into, not a deviance, a dalliance into NC-17.
I do mark on YouTube, you either say, yes, it's made for kids, or no, it's not made for kids.
And on Acast every week, it says, does this podcast contain explicit language? I go, yeah, I just do it. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
We say,
Yeah, it's like, does this podcast mention piss?
Yeah.
And I have to say yes.
Yeah, of course, piss. Yeah, we say piss every time. Why did Wes think that we were such a,
Goody two shoes?
more
Pollyanna?
moral?
What clip did he see?
I don't know. One where we were like we had birds singing in the background, and we were saying like we love everything about every
birds
show.
Put our hats on, like.
Good morning, little turtle cuties. Well, dang,
He
it
didn't know when he agreed that we're sickos. But
yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't. I mean, I'm kind of glad that we have the veneer.
it's good for advertisers.
I'm glad that we have the like, what's that called? We have a brush of
The sheen.
we have a sheen of morally upstanding and no cursing, but then also we get away with saying horrible stuff every once in a while. That's probably the best place to be.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
We contain multitudes, just like New Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey contains multitudes. Okay, I want to ask you, thought experiment, and we can talk about more highlights too at the end, just to say what we love. But if we were in the Bravo's chair, which you always say, I don't want to be in the Bravo chair.
Yeah.
Because imagine the things they have to contemplate. But if you see this finale where you're like, oh my God, like a Bravo executive, his hat starts flying, doing spins on his head, steam comes out of their ears, and they say, how the hell are we going to recover from this? what are we doing? What is your solution? Because you've loved Jersey. You say you've loved it since 2006. I love Jersey too. I think it's good enough to sustain itself. I think would never reboot it. I've seen what rebooting looks like.
Yeah.
It's like the end of a franchise.
I
They should have
know.
called that shit Real Housewives of Brooklyn and left New York on a hiatus while they figured out the casting.
I know, especially watching now, like what's going on. Sonia selling her house, Luann on tour.
It's not even comparable. I would have rather, we've already said this, I would have rather seen Sonia in a room with a chair sitting across from Luann for 6 hours than anything that New York has done
Did you see
for 12 episodes.
Luann in the UK saying, sheep, c'est la vie, c'est ba, c'est ba.
Sheep?
She passed by in the car a bunch of sheep, and she said, sheep, c'est la vie, c'est ba, c'est ba.
She's killing it. I still think about that clip you sent me, which I don't know if we've ever talked about on Turtle Time. Will you say
The
what
Fuck,
it
Marry,
was?
Kill?
Yeah, will you say it?
It was Fuck, Marry, Kill, Jax, Schwartz, or Sandoval. And the audience was sort of like, whenever she would mention a name, they were like, reacting a certain way. And she goes, and Tom Sandoval, I know you guys want me to kill him, but if I'm being honest, I'd fuck him.
Yeah.
She's hilarious. And
yes.
she's honestly thriving. Where was she playing in was it like Glastonbury or something? She had that huge crowd.
Glastonbury. Oasis or Blur was like, and next up we've got Luann de Lesseps.
And Tilda Swinton was at one of her shows.
Yeah, are
you kidding?
I love that she's thriving because it's kind of to spite Bravo right in their face. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to play Glastonbury right after Blur gets off set and the gorillas perform 3D animations of themselves. But I want to see her thrive on this show, obviously. Yeah. I love that she's thriving because she's proved exactly what everyone in the world knows. She's iconic and everything she does is entertaining. Bravo, why would you not want to harness some of that anymore? But we talk about that too much. But I'm just saying I want to always keep in mind that the worst case scenario for me is a reboot of these franchises. You already found Rachel and Danielle. People like Dolores and Frank. People like Joe Gorga for the most part.
Yeah.
Don't just scrap this legendary show because Melissa and Teresa can no longer get along, which they've never really gotten along.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's ways to work this out. If you said, well, I don't know, I don't want to get into the speculation because I was going to say if you told Teresa and Melissa you're getting fired if you don't sit down with each other, then that completely could be used as a horrible precedent for any future shows. But I just think that there is something here. It still has merit to me enough. When I saw that sit down with the Fudas versus the Louis and Teresa, I was like, there is power here. Mm-hmm. Do not scrap this. So what would you like? What do you think if it is that Margaret and Melissa tell Teresa we'll never be in the same room with you again because they found out that Teresa did something even more despicable than anything that they even knew that Louis had done? If it's like, what would you do in that scenario?
Right. It's so impossible because Teresa's the kingpin, which a lot of times, that happens where someone gets too big for their britches. They have to get caught at, I feel like Nene, that happened, LVP, that happened. Someone just becomes the top of the pyramid and it ruins the entire dynamic. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like she is the final piece of the original legacy. But it's like, I guess we don't need to hold on to that forever. But it is a problem at this point.
Yeah. I can't imagine a Jersey without Teresa and Melissa.
Yeah.
And Joe. But maybe it's something that Bravo has to test without rebooting it to just see what Jersey's future could be like if this is not sustainable anymore, having them on the same show.
Right. Because I'm not even choosing sides where, people say who should leave, Melissa or Teresa. I'm not, if I say that Teresa should leave, it's not even necessarily because I'm on Melissa's side. It's more that I think Melissa can exist in an ensemble and Teresa cannot.
Yeah. That's
they could change it around as much as they wanted and Melissa would still fit in fine because she's not such an over the top personality. She can just kind of roll with it. Whereas Teresa, it doesn't matter who else you change. She's going to have a problem.
Yeah. That's why when I'm Fessler is catering to Teresa. I'm like, do you know how on the precipice you are? If you say one word about Teresa that she finds out about, she will write you off forever.
Yeah.
So I don't know either. I would probably test if I would keep a lot of the talent that everyone loves and just test a season without Teresa and Melissa. And it's kind of like Bravo is letting them know, like they demoted Luann on New York around season 7 when Luann was getting too high and mighty, and they said, we can demote you to a friend of, and we can still be very powerful. And it worked. Luann like started going to call times on time. She knew. So if Melissa and Teresa have this like situation where they never want to be around each other again, even film with each other, then maybe take a year off from them and see what happens in the off time and see what happens when they're not in the Bravo universe, if they know, and test the other cast to see how they would move along with maybe 2 new additions.
Right. Yeah, I do think that Teresa's, for some reason, particularly complicated, because I really do think that Andy loves her a lot. Like they said,
as he should.
This week was her 43rd appearance on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah, and I'm being harsh on Teresa, but like I think I already said, like I love Teresa too. I think she is like the most sympathetic villain that there's ever been, where I root for Teresa. And the show is, it could be called Teresa and Friends. You know what I mean? Like this Jersey is the Teresa story for the most part. But
well, that's why it's interesting, and I want to like go back to the beginning, because the cast was so strong originally that Teresa was like one of many, like the power dynamic. She wasn't on top at the beginning.
Manzo's and Giudice's were kind of playing for power, like we're equal power, equal footing. Like it, you know, and there is a lot of
Montagues and Capulets.
Oh, it is totally
at
like
the brownstone.
It's totally like those two families that hated each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Did you also know, sorry, I'm reminiscing about Watch What Happens Live because it's the 15th Annie, which also
what
makes
are they
me feel
doing for
old
that?
as fuck.
I haven't watched the retrospective.
They'll just like, they're going to have an actual special, but they've just been throwing back like clips and stuff at the end of the show. And in case you hadn't recalled, Danielle Staub was the first guest ever.
Danielle Staub was the first guest on Watch What Happens Live?
Yeah.
I had to watch that.
Yeah.
Did they showed clips from it?
Mm-hmm. The phone lines went down on the first episode.
Because too many people were trying to call.
Too powerful.
Oh my God. Wow.
I realized watching that shit, I like genuinely get emotional about Watch What Happens Live, which sounds so stupid because it's the most like frivolous show or whatever. But to me, like it really is like the cornerstone of the network. Like I've watched it the entire time. I watched it, you know, the person from the episode you just watched is on afterwards. Like Nene is on and Kim calls in. Like there's been so much wild shit that you've watched before your eyes. And obviously it's less live now because they have to like cater to Andy's schedule. But historically you were like, if you watched it, you were like, that was fucking crazy. Yeah. And I feel very like, I don't know, like part of a club who's been watching it the whole time. And I feel like, I don't know, like that show's important to me.
Oh, good. Well, that's nice.
Like,
well,
I love it.
On the 15th anniversary, I'm glad you're making it known. I don't have that nostalgia for it. You know, I watch it when there's a guest that I want to like that I love, like when West and Kyle were on. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. but also like the range of quality of a Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're used to it.
Yeah.
But for me, like there is nothing worse than watching like a celebrity guest be on there not knowing anything and them just completely sucking. And it like when Jesse was on, it's like it's almost it's
it used to be just like so fucking ragtag and like janky, and like they would have all of the Bravo celebrities perform their songs. It was like they made no effort to like, that's not a room for performance. It's the smallest room in history. We were just talking about the Simon Van Campen performance. Like Danielle Staub did that piano ballad Real Close to You. I'm sure like Kim Zolciak has performed. Like it's just like historically just an absolute shit show. He would have the New Year's Eve party where he like made out with Tamra. Like it was just like absolute chaos. Okay. And I feel like it's more buttoned up now because it's become like a player in late night. Like it's just almost become one of the late night shows that people do press on. But it used to be like absolute madness.
Wow. So I might have missed the golden era.
maybe so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reminisce. I'm proud of Andy, proud of that group. But yeah, as far as the future of New Jersey, though, I think they need to incorporate the Bahamas somehow.
So you mean Teresa, like Joe says, Teresa, there's some paperwork we have to sign. You have to be here in person to do
Yeah.
it. And so Teresa and the family all
have
go
to
to
go.
see. I mean,
Because they went to Italy, right?
Yeah.
And they visited him there
Yes.
when he got deported.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I loved seeing that little glimpse of Joe on the FaceTime when they called
Yeah.
him when he was
They're
crying.
sweet.
So-
It feels like they have like good mutual respect still. You know, like they're not like, I don't want to talk to him. It was kind of like she was like, hey, Joe. And he's like, hey, Teresa. Like they're kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
get along well enough.
Yeah, so who knows what the hell? I mean, I guess I do trust Andy a little bit that this finale is like, I don't know. He's burned me before. When he said the last 7 episodes of this latest season of Vanderpump Rules were some of the most godly, beautiful
And
shit he's
that
ever seen.
Lala was the voice of reason.
I was like, Andy, what the hell are you talking about? I get when he said it for Scandival. He said that same shit last year, but what 7 episodes were you watching that you absolutely loved of this season of Vanderpump Rules? So I don't know if he's just hyping the shit out of it, but hopefully the decision that they're making that seems inconceivable to me now does make sense when we see that, like, I don't know, what could happen. Teresa brandishes a knife.
I mean, some shit goes down. There's broken glass.
Right.
But I wonder who will all be involved. You know?
Yeah, I don't know, because there's also this Danielle Jen Aiden fight that happened. Do you remember that? Like they had to be suspended from filming because Danielle and Jen Aiden had a physical altercation that I guess is going to be addressed this season as well. So
Interesting. Do you think that's what it is, or do you think there's an additional thing?
it could be that.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I don't know how that would affect like Teresa and Melissa. I mean, they would just fire Jen and
Right.
Danielle.
And why
Like,
was Dolores left at the table contemplating?
she goes? What does she say? That was horrible.
How
went
did it ever
horribly.
come to this?
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, it justifies whatever the. I don't know. I just think that Bravo is really pulling the emergency latch on all these shows a little too quickly now. Like with the RHONJ reunion in season 12. Like it's just like I don't just wait a second and think about it before you make such huge decisions like this.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm just like, what could happen that warrants ruining like the format and formula of a
Yeah.
tried and true, thing that
Yeah.
Bravo's done for
What's
years.
what's happening on Atlanta?
Atlanta's getting it's like a soft reboot. It's Kenya, Portia, which I'll love.
Yeah.
That's already great. Candy's off. I forget who else is there.
There's
Another
some new people.
legacy, and then like 4 new people. So it's learning the lessons of the RHONJ reboot. They're like, we'll never do anything like that again, hopefully.
Yeah. I saw there's some major shit going down with like Kenya and one of the new cast members, like potentially like a legal situation.
Yeah, I know.
Looks dirty.
I know. I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'm already worried what we have to talk about
Oh
there.
God!
But
Why can't we just keep it light?
I know. But then I'm like, but then when we keep it light,
It's
like when
boring.
it's RHONJ, I'm
Yeah.
like, it's boring. There's some middle ground there, which I think OC is going to get to.
Yeah.
OC is not so toxic. I mean, I know people say it's possibly toxic to talk about Shannon driving drunk into a house.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of stuff is more in the realm, I think, of what is easier to talk about than some of the like really dark, toxic shit that
Yeah.
happens on some franchises. Like,
For sure. No, I'm looking forward to OC.
yeah,
I feel like that's the main thing we have. That's like the only thing, right?
I think
We
that's
haven't
it.
watched Dubai. We'll get back to you guys on how we feel about. We'll probably binge that at some point, but currently I have very little interest. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. We just have limited time, and
Yeah, I just
I'm
didn't
sure-
love the first season.
Okay, yeah, and I have doubts that, I mean, it just how I've heard it talked about, I have not considered it appointment viewing,
Yeah.
so far. But maybe you and I will be going. It's time to talk about Dubai. In
If
like
Bravo
2
sends
months.
us on an Emirates flight to Dubai
To,
to
like-
watch it, I will go.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Oh, Bravo. Oh,
I'll
If
watch all 12 episodes on the plane on the way 24-hour flight there.
Oh, For sure we will do that. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have to get into that. But anyway, well, if you can't tell, Amy and I are creating some content that we hope is going to last forever. This evergreen, beautiful
For the
content.
ages.
This is you. We know the Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs will be winding this back as the definitive takes on New Jersey for a long time. But we've already said this on, the Patreon or whatever. Amy and I are going on a little bit of a summer break. And so the content that we're doing for Turtle Time is going to be, we hope, everlasting, beautiful, non-topical talk that will last us for about 3 weeks until Amy and I get back on a normal topical schedule. So this is kind of just like letting you all know that next week you're going to see something and you're going to be like, what the hell is this? And then the next week you're going to be like, what the hell is this? But it's just because,
But our Patreon will be going week to week as usual, recapping vintage Vanderpump Rules. We're basically almost done with season 4. It's bomb as hell. Yeah, so hang out with us over there.
Yeah, if you're like, whoa, this sucked. I like when Amy and Riley are topical as hell. Well,
we're topical to the episode we're talking about on Vanderpump Rules.
In a sense, they're topical, talking about a
highly
old
relevant
episode.
to 2016.
And sometimes Amy and I will do episodes 3 weeks in advance on the Patreon and then bring up news. It doesn't matter.
You're really
the Patreon,
selling it.
Yeah, no. The Patreon is wonderful, and I know our Villa Rosa VIPs. We all have such a fun time there. If you're sad that Amy and I aren't giving you the hottest takes you've ever heard in your life, why not join us for the Patreon? And there it's like you will feel like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
It's like set in stone.
But I do feel like the point of this New Jersey episode was a discussion forum based thing. So I want people's comments on like what I want to see what our listeners specifically would prefer to happen, because I literally don't know what I would prefer to watch
for the future of Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So comment on YouTube or wherever, Patreon or Instagram or wherever the hell, and tell us what you think should happen, because Bravo might be reading. I don't know.
Yeah, Bravo. I think that they're in the period where they don't know what they're going to do with this franchise. And I think that they're scrapping together a finale to maybe like dictate what's going to happen in the future. Like it could be the end of this iteration of Jersey, or it could be like we're saying goodbye to the Melissa and Teresa, what's that called? Like their legacy on the show, and then continuing forward with new people.
I don't need to watch the charity softball game again. Like it's been like 5 years that it gets an episode. I can't.
I think that they, I don't know what it is. I was saying this about like events wise. I noticed that there are 100 events. I wonder if it's because none of the cast members like to meet in the off time, and they need to foster times artificially with group activities. But I do notice how many events there are, and I think that they have to have the charity baseball game because it's the one time where everyone has to go because it's for charity.
Yeah.
So that's why it always gets a pivotal episode long.
Right, because they're all in the same room. Yeah.
But I agree. I don't think that event specifically is like warrants every single year us seeing that. No offense to Dolores and
no, I mean
Polly.
It's great. She raised $200,000. I told you I've been to that field. I've seen a minor league game there before.
You never told me that.
The Cyclones.
You never told me
Went
that.
with my sister. So.
The Cyclones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
It's
well,
like it's like near Coney Island, I think.
Oh my God. Well, I love Coney Island.
Fun.
Do what Amy said and tell us what you think should happen to Jersey. Are you watching Jersey this season? I mean, you and I we're going to talk about Jersey for the rest of, I'm sure, because we'll just have that in OC. So we'll talk about Jersey. I don't think it's like put it out to pasture at all, but let us know what you think the future could be if Teresa and Melissa can never be around each other again. So we'll talk about that.
Yep.
And then, join us on Patreon, like Amy said, because it's a beautiful experience there for our Villa Rosa VIPs.
Yeah. And if you're a New Jersey stan, we do have a Teresa, despite everything we said about her, a Teresa t-shirt available.
Oh, yeah.
Sweatshirt.
Yeah. And don't review us this week.
No, dude, I bet some people loved it.
Okay. Yeah, if you loved it, for sure. Well, good. All right, well, we love you all so much. Amy is on vacation as we speak. I hope you are having the time of your life right now. I get excited just when I imagine you in my mind's eye of what you're doing.
I'll be drunk.
You're going to be drunk. Oh, my God. I'm going to get drunk in solidarity with you alone, not knowing
Have an
what you're
Aperol
doing.
spritz.
Yeah, for sure. So imagine Amy just like with her, spinning in the wind, drinking a cocktail in Paris. And imagine what the hell I'm doing too. Okay, we'll see you next week let's just say what we're doing next week.
Okay.
So, well, can't we just say what people should be excited about?
Okay.
We're going to, Amy and I are going to something about her sandwich shop, and we're going to eat. Should we not say it because it's so not enticing?
Wait until next week to find out what we think about our turkey wrap.
I guess you're right. Next week we will, or maybe we won't, have a recap of us going to something about her and a VPR secrets episode. But you'll see. Who knows what the hell Amy and I will do. We love you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
This one's for you.